Welcome to The Pull Bag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with a rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pull Bag.
Hello and welcome to the Pull Bag, which is still the Punisher Bag here in Punisher Month. This is episode 44. I am your host, Steve G. Mike. Joining me is Ryan the Uneven Flow. Hello, how are you?
Yo, I'm fine. It feels like it's been ages.
It has. And of course, we also welcome back the Punisher Body Count crew of Jake and Dane. Hey, guys.
Hey, man.
Howdy, partner.
The interesting thing between last week and this week is Jake's connection hasn't cut out at all.
I thought you were going to mention the fact that they both had time to sleep it off.
Well, no, Dane's still high off the weed.
We never sleep it off, Ryan. I don't think you've heard the show, but we never sleep it off.
That went completely unnoticed. All right, so we are here to talk about the epic The Punisher, Welcome Back Frank, written by Garth Ennis.
How are you calling it epic? This is your first time ever reading it.
You can call it epic.
I guess, but it just seems a little weird. I don't know.
Pencils by Steve Dillon and inks by Palmiotti. I forget his first name, but Dane's in love with this guy. So.
Jimmy Palmiotti.
Yep. Don't you have a man crush on Jimmy Palmiotti?
No, I really enjoy his work, and his wife, Amanda Connor's really cool. And
are you related to him? Because y'all are both Italian.
Just, you know what? I gotta tell you, it helps. But no, I like a lot of his work, like Jonah Hex, his independent works, just awesome. And he also works with another guy. I can't believe I forgot his name. Let me see if I can do a quick. What if I write Jimmy Palmiotti?
All right. Well, while Dane's doing his research,
internet search is fun.
Justin Gray is his writing partner.
I don't know. I guess I can call it epic because I always hear people saying such wonderful things about it. So I mean, you know, that's like someone saying, how can you call Breaking Bad epic? It's just 3 boring seasons and 2 awesome ones.
Look, I mean, you could call Welcome Back Frank epic because, by anyone's opinion, who counts, it's the greatest Punisher story of all time. Period, hands down.
Well, here's what's really important about that, because it's often in like any blogger's top 10 list, but people forget that before this, the Punisher had been in the toilet for years.
Yeah. Was literally dead at one point.
Well, no,
dead?
he was.
But he was brought back. But
the 2 story arcs before this one, Frank was literally the angel of death.
Oh yeah, one of those, of course, being the excellent Revelation that everybody loves.
With the Wolverine crossover.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's worse, Revelation or
Revelation by far. Revelation is
no. What I was going to ask was, what's worse, Revelation or the Clone Saga?
Well, Clone Saga just breaks you down over how long it is. Yeah. Revelations, it's almost like here's the thing. The Clone Saga is like getting whipped while you're doing hard labor in Alabama because you were framed for robbing a burger stand. But the fucking Revelations is just like someone just coming up to you and just like throwing you in an alley and just punching you for like 5 fucking minutes. You don't even know the guy.
Until we finally get our Matt Fraction, Howard Chaykin Punisher comic, it might be the worst like Punisher book.
Yeah,
He said rough. Alabama, and all I can think of is run, Forrest, run!
Away from Punisher Revelation. That's right.
Anywho, yeah, that's a bit of background for
my
it.
mom always told me life was like a box of bullets. You never know what you're gonna get, but you're probably gonna get bullets.
Mm. All right, so any other initial thoughts on Welcome Back Frank before we dive into it, guys?
It came out in the year 2000. The comics code was a little bit different. I mean, this was the precursor to Max and a lot of the R-rated stuff we have now in a lot of ways. It still would have existed, but I mean...
Hasn't Marvel officially kicked comics code to the curb?
So did DC.
And this was slowly kind of like the leaning towards that originally.
Well,
what I'm saying is they'd already kicked them to the curb by this point. None of these are Comics Code approved.
No, well, like these were, I believe. Marvel Knights was still Comics Code approved, but they were a little bit darker. Marvel Knights was actually showing just how pointless the Comics Code was becoming. Like, oh wow, they're swearing, and you know what they're saying, but it's just done with that @ sign and the pound sign and dollar sign.
Right.
It's like, dude, there's rape in these comics. There's
I mean,
a
I suppose,
polar bear ripping a woman apart.
I mean, even when we interviewed Mike Barron on the show, like he was saying that the Comics Code never harassed him.
Yeah,
and he's doing some pretty, I'm not going to say hardcore, but he was doing some edgy stuff even back in the 80s.
Yeah, he was. But the Comics Code was all. We got to remember what the Comics Code was. The Comics Code was comics coming in and saying, because the government was starting to get mad, there were all these parent groups that were getting mad, and they wanted something done about these horrific comics. So they said, hey, we'll create our own board, we'll create our own code, and we'll police ourselves. That was the only way they could keep any kind of control over their industry. And it also, of course, brought in the age of superheroes, because superheroes were unoffensive, and they didn't kill. So that made it great for Comics Code Authority. But here's the thing. Of course, Comic Code Authority, if the people in charge of the board want that shit to not lose power, it'll lose power. And that's where we are with Punisher 2000. Guys still there?
But back to this book. Well, anyway, I mean, I'm not planning anyway on doing this panel by panel. I think pretty much everybody.
No, this is.
I'm just saying, pretty much
issues. There's no way we are so
anyway,
skipping.
Pretty much anybody who's interested in the characters probably already read this before, and if you haven't, for the love of God, go pick up a copy.
Yeah. Stop this podcast, get off your ass, go to your comic shop, and find it.
And if you're one of those people who's kind of OCD like Mike, I mean, granted, there is a bunch of continuity before this, but in a way, this almost starts its brand new continuity. You really don't need to have anything else under your belt before you read this.
I'm only really a stickler for like if it's in a comic run, I like this is the first 12 issues. I'm not going to start at issue 13.
Yeah,
sure.
And then have to find out what's, of course, with Batman I did that, but anyway, that's a different story. Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back and get into Welcome Back, Frank, after this. Okay, so in welcoming back Frank, with this being my very first reading of it, I found it interesting reading Ennis's introduction in the trade.
Yeah.
Because he wrote it a year after.
Yeah.
And he's right. It's entertainment, damn it. Get over it, people. And I think this is one of the reasons why by 2000 the Comics Code was gone. Because
to be fair, at the time there was probably more. Well, not probably. There was more uproar over the fact that Marvel was employing the guy who had written Preacher than really the content of the Punisher books.
Yeah.
I still distinctly remember Wizard back then had like letter after letter for like months of people, usually religious people, just to be honest about it, complaining that they were covering something written by the guy who had produced Preacher, and that's where most of the sort of controversy ended up coming from.
Yeah, and that's awesome, because as a Christian, the last thing I want to see in my mass murder comics is an atheist writing them. I mean, come on, people. There's a line in that we just should not cross as a society. Yeah, I believe it, Ryan. I believe it.
No, I know. I mean, I remember. To be fair, Wizard got some like weird letters. The all-time worst being the guy who defended all the sites covering I can't remember her name now, the actress from like Harry Potter from like well before she was 18.
Yeah.
That was kind of creepy. Thanks for posting that one, Wizard.
Yeah. I always imagine just the letters pages of Wizard to be just a freak show.
Pretty much. Speaking of freak shows, in the early panels of this, no, I mean, Frank's first line in this too is "and get a haircut," which I always enjoyed. That's our introduction to the main character.
A throwback to his conservative roots.
Yeah, and I mean, I loved the bit with the first drug dealer too, as he's talking about
and it's also, in a way, it's also classic because what gun does he have to the hippie's throat? He's got his Uzi.
Yeah,
I mean, that's total classic Punisher.
Yeah,
I love that too. I'm sitting on enough product to set us up for the rest of our lives. All you have to do is drive down here and pick me up. I have to go now.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
And
well,
then,
because he had just begged for his life. And he was just saying, I'm just a user. And I don't know, he should have waited a little bit to make a phone call.
Yeah, Ennis was real economical in this first issue, and I think he doesn't get enough credit just for the first issue alone, because it showed just in those 3 pages, A, Frank is very efficient at what he does. B, Frank has rules. He's not going to kill people that aren't being violent criminals. And he doesn't go after people smoking pot. He doesn't go after jaywalkers. You have to be a violent criminal. And B, he doesn't give second chances. And that's what he shows at the end, snapping that dude's neck. So
I gotta say, I don't like, and this isn't a mark against the art overall, but I don't like the design of the skull, because part of it, the teeth of it,
the bandoliers,
Well, that's what it's. Like, that's classic. That's supposed to be a throwback to ASM 129.
Yeah.
Okay, well, ASM 129 looked better than this does.
I think Ennis fought just to have the guy wear pants instead of those tights, and so okay, we'll give you
the only reason why I bring it up is because the whole time I was reading this entire 12-issue series, I kept thinking, "Wow, that's the Punisher utility belt."
Well, it is. I mean,
I know, but I kept flashing to Batman because Batman has that giant bat.
Look, Batman does not have the copyright on utility belts. I mean, I think the U.S. Army beat him to that. I mean, come on.
Also, to be fair, Punisher's utility belt is filled with the same thing: more ammunition.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not really a utility belt. It's more like I need to carry more bullets so I can kill more people.
It's a tactical belt.
Yeah.
And those teeth, I remember in Remender's run, he actually pulled out 2 of them and they just turned into nunchucks. And I thought, holy shit, how come no one's thought of this before?
Remender, oh my god, yeah. Remender totally tried to turn Punisher into Batman. Because he had that fucking hand glider with the skull. He had the crotch rocket with the skull. And
shield.
Yeah, god, that was awful.
Like, whenever he uses this shit, just as a reader, I'm sure many other Punisher readers know this, because Punisher is a very practical guy, and he does use the skull as intimidation, but then you have to imagine him sitting in a basement with some spray cans and some acrylic paints and going like, time to put a fucking skull on this hang glider, gonna totally freak out some birds, motherfucker. Gonna take out that fucking Italian bird mafia while I'm at it. Just no one cares, dude. Like he doesn't need to copyright everything. He does not fire small skulls out of his gun.
If they wanted to do a actual...
At least they didn't give him a gun that shoots knives. Or, sorry, swords.
Yeah. No, it's a gun that shoots... I think it was a gun that shoots knives. Yeah.
Either knives or swords. Either way, it was crap. Thanks, Matt.
What is that from?
That Fractions War Journal.
Oh.
Yeah, it was when one of Hulk's fucking armies came down from space and it's like, oh, I'm going to use a gun that shoots knives. Isn't this nifty? It basically turned into a fucking Chuck Norris joke on the internet. It was like, look at this fucking wacky scene. No, I will not be buying this Punisher comic, but man, check out this JPEG I posted.
Talk about a sidekick.
Yeah. Well, how about the sidekick here?
Back to the good comic.
Let's talk about the cast of characters around Frank, because another interesting thing about the Punisher and Welcome Back Frank is they balance. This is a much quieter Punisher. I mean, yes, he does have inner narration, but he's much more practical. It doesn't have this wide and wacky cast of characters that he had in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s. He does have the cop soap that he uses that is ironically the only man, for a little bit anyway, the only man of the Punisher squad that's supposed to bring in the Punisher. And you also get to see a lot of people getting interviewed and how they feel about the Punisher, almost in a sort of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns kind of way, but kind of poking fun at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Then you also have the roommates, which
Yeah.
are quite common. And I know we talked about this when we discussed the movie adaptation last episode. But you have Spacker Dave, who's this, I don't know, making fun of all those people who get tattoos and piercings.
Yeah.
And then you have Joan, who's nothing like her counterpart in the movie. She's just this really introverted, shy girl. Yeah.
She almost looks like she's somewhere between 14 and 17. She doesn't even look like a 20-something person at all.
No, I didn't see that. I thought she was just short and small. I think she could actually be 2 or 3 inches taller if she sat up straight, but that's not her character.
It's supposed to be sort of mousy.
Yeah.
Is the description, literally.
Then you have Mr. Bumpo, who looks like Hitler who let himself go.
That's actually a really good way of putting it.
And I know I violated Godwin's law, but I don't know who else has that style.
You did, but I forgive you. Yeah, I guess this is just one of those things where it's like European writer. It's like, what was funny in Europe? Oh, Americans are fat. Okay, I got to use that here. Oh my God. Fuck yeah. Americans are fat. That is our knock-knock joke. This got to work that in.
And on the opposite side, I mean, we covered the movie adaptation. Basically, the Nucci's in a lot of ways are what the Saints were kind of modeled after, only they're a lot more fleshed out than the Saints really were.
Yeah.
And
well, that's
we also
because the difference is they had 12 issues to flesh them out, whereas a 2-hour movie you can't.
Also, the movie wasn't written all that well. It tends to be a different. But anyway, on the other hand, I mean, we also get Harry Heck is in here along with 2 other assassins who Frank dispatches easily. That was enjoyable, by the way. And of course, most famously, this is the first appearance of the Russian, a speaking character who is quite a bit different than his counterpart. And I would also add in terms of bad guys in a lot of ways to the Punisher in this, although not really a bad guy. We also get Matt Murdock, better known as Daredevil, in a fantastic scene. One of my all-time favorite Punisher scenes. I loved every moment of it. Daredevil's realization, like, what kind of a choice is that? Well, it's Frank's sort of choice he gives him. If you don't shoot, you've got a death on your conscience. Death you could have prevented. If you do shoot, you're a killer. I can do this, by the way, word for word without opening the book. And Daredevil asks him, what choice is that? And Frank simply replies, it's the one I make every time I pull the trigger.
Every time Ennis brings in a Marvel character into his Punisher run, he kind of shits all over them. And he kind of does that with Daredevil, but you can actually tell that there's at least some respect for the character. He tried, at least with Daredevil. Like Spider-Man and Wolverine especially, oh, lordy, did he shit on Wolverine.
Yeah, he just trashes
multiple times.
At least with Daredevil, you're right. There's that respect, and not only that, but in a lot of ways, he's probably treated the closest to the actual version of Daredevil. Yeah. I mean, you could actually see this happening with, the same Daredevil you read now, be it Mark Waid or whoever's writing Future, and it's a really well done scene that amazingly puts together like all of the differences at once between the Punisher and every other Marvel hero.
Yeah.
I mean, it displays everything.
One thing is that, oh goodness, man, I still remember Daredevil fans putting up such a shit fit about that because they just started bringing up, well, he would know that there's no firing pin because his super senses would know that gun is 0.2 ounces lighter than it should be. And so this is bullshit.
Because Daredevil's such a gun expert and
uses that's what I was going to say. He knows nothing about these things. He doesn't use them. I mean, he wouldn't know. And the other issue is he's probably, a little distracted.
Oh, yeah.
imagine doesn't Frank have a bunch of like ultrasonic shit going off? Isn't that how he?
Yeah.
My assumption is, he's shut them off at this point, but it's probably still messed with his senses. And then, he's distracted by the fact that Frank's A, talking to him, B, about to murder one of his clients.
Right. Yeah. Daredevil fans are just bitches.
Well, I want to go back a minute, and I know we're not doing panel by panel here for this because it's such a large story, but the whole time I was reading this, I'm like, why do we need anything with these 3 villain characters? No, hold on. Okay. And Ryan's going to kill me for this analogy.
Wait, hold on. Before you say which 3 villains, are you talking about the 3 Punisher copies?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm talking about the Axe Murderer, the Court of Owl looking guy, and then
Elite.
Luke Cage on steroids.
I think you mean Elite, Father Ronaldo, and it's Payback. It's Mr. Payback. It's just Elite. There's no Mr. But anyway,
these 3 villains throughout until I got to the payoff of why they were even there. I'm thinking, holy crap! When is Stabler and Benson going to go arrest these bastards?
Oh yeah.
All 3 of these villains, it felt like 3 different Law and Order Special Victims Units episodes to me. It just did. I'm sorry. That's the only really bad thing I don't like about this story.
You think Stabler would go after a guy that's called Elite? And
yes, he would.
Stabler is the Punisher. People? I don't know what. No, Stabler. I think that the actor that plays him, he needs to play the next Punisher. He would make a
Maloney is I could see that, yeah.
But anyway, no, I think that those characters are important because
they become important.
No, they're important from the start.
No, they're important the entire time, yeah.
Because here's the thing: when Ennis writes Punisher, it's a thesis, okay? And what these characters show is they're going after crime the way they see it, right? And maybe it's a little harder to see it in the case of Elite. But what they end up doing is it's showing that no, this is not the stuff that the Punisher cares about, and he actually hates people that do that kind of stuff, and that's why I don't want to spoil it.
And I understand that, and I like that about it. I like the payoff. I just don't like how long it takes to get to the payoff.
But they're like a seaside story anyway. Like if you don't like it, you can skip through it. But
every time you watched Frasier, did you not want to see Niles Crane pick up a pistol and start offing people?
He's he's not that. He's such a pussy. He would never do that.
Only in the deepest pages of my diary.
They're necessary in a number of ways. I mean, the other ways.
I'm not saying it's unnecessary. I'm just saying that I wish the payoff.
Shut up, so I can make my point. So the other issue here is it offers a statement in a lot of ways on the Punisher and what he does. It's not just about them. I mean, it's their versions of him in a lot of ways, and they are also what he theoretically could inspire. And the other half of this too is the idea of whether or not the Punisher thinks he's the only person who can do this. And to a certain extent, there is that. I mean, he has a right. I don't necessarily understand what his problem is with Father Ronaldo / the Axeman, for example. I mean, technically, he did kill people. Frank would,
but he does it in the name of God. He thinks he's doing it in the name of God.
Yeah,
and Frank doesn't do that. He's a very secular killer.
That's fine, but I mean, there's still the question of whether or not, if part of it is, and they hit on this a little more in the sequel, of whether or not Frank just considers himself the only person who can take this on. I mean, he has the line in the second one of, what makes you think I feel bad about I can't sleep at night.
Oh yeah, I sleep
because of what he does. Well, yeah, he doesn't. And I think in a certain way, he just sees himself as the only person who can do this mission.
Oh, Ryan, absolutely. A big thing, and Jake and I have discussed this on the show. One of the things that really attracts people to the Punisher in general is just this idea of the strong individual who does what society cannot do. And it's not just male bravado, it's being able to stand up for real principles as an individual and not having to rely on other people. It's almost like Ayn Randian in a way, but
Yeah.
except with all the bullshit architecture and sociopathness to
I
it.
don't
Yeah,
know if it's
and-
anything. I don't know if it's anything like Ayn Rand, but let me
No.
put it to you this way. This is why the Punisher works, and I know this is slightly off topic with this, but we have a listener that I'm friends with on Facebook, and this horrific crime happened the other day where these two suspects, killed a guy, an old World War II veteran, and allegedly this was caught on tape, and the guy was just like, fucking, they don't get a trial, no Eighth Amendment, just fucking kill them, rip out their toenails, just fucking do it right now, And I think people want to have this strong sense of justice, and it just pisses them the fuck off when people get off on technicalities. Oh, because I didn't read you your Miranda rights before I put the handcuffs on, or the chief forgot to cross his T and dot his I's, and some highfalutin Harvard lawyer gets them off. And people get pissed. They want to see justice happen, and Frank bypasses all that.
Or OJ goes free. Oh, sorry.
I was trying to keep it nonpartisan, but this stuff happens, and people really want to see justice happen, and Frank's able to do it, and it eases our cognitive dissonance because Frank never gets it wrong.
And that's a bit of like why I think the Vigilante Squad characters need to exist. I think they are a necessary thing. And not only that, I mean, let's be honest here just for a second, flat out say it. It also makes like the ending of this book a whole lot better.
Yeah, it does.
It's a really satisfying ending. Just the single word, like, my God, man, isn't this what you've always wanted? No.
No is a big word in the NS comics, especially under Marvel Knights. That's said a lot. I don't know, like it's obviously purposeful, but whatever. I mean, because I think if Ennis is supposed to be like, if you were supposed to describe the Punisher in one word, what would it be? Ennis would just say no. It's not he's refusing to answer the question. That's what the Punisher is. Yeah. The Punisher is no. No more of your bullshit. You are going to stop existing. No.
Yeah, I guess none of these criminals better call Saul.
Well, the only lawyer who might be able to save them for a few minutes is Murdoch, and even he fails in this.
Yeah. Oh, Murdoch's just like, fuck, man. Maybe we can send you to Florida. The Punisher would never go there. Am I right, guys?
So, I mean, well, he does, but anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of the book, I mentioned, like, the Daredevil scene. It's also followed by another personal all-time favorite scenes, and that is the Punisher in the zoo.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute classic.
Oh, God. And, I mean, everybody and their brother has seen the picture of him punching a polar bear, which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
It also leads, by the way, to the fantastic scene with Ma talking about, like, and one of the idiots, who is it? I think it's Cousin Steve who says something like, you want me, or it's somebody who says, wants me to kill, or you want us to kill the bear, Ma?
Oh, yeah.
No, the Punisher, you dimwit.
Yep. Fun fact, Marvel immediately lost sponsorship from Coca-Cola when that issue aired.
Because the guy thought she wanted him to kill a polar bear, they lost sponsorship.
No, I think it's more the Punisher punching a polar bear, which is fantastic. But the whole zoo thing.
But they only ever use those at Christmas time. So
wait! I got a question. Wait, were you just joking, Dane, or did that literally happen?
No, it didn't fucking. Why would Marvel be? I guess they have ads, but like Coke just goes like, "How dare you!"
I can't believe this ended up being a question. No, anyway. I mean, the whole zoo scene is the Punisher kind of at his best. Improvisation.
How dare you bears are dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
people,
bear.
If future generations are going to read this comic book and be like, what the fuck's a polar bear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, Jake.
Way to bring us down.
Jake, are you going to be reviewing an Inconvenient Truth for the next Discharge Papers?
Maybe.
Good. I can't wait to see your slideshow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, really, like, this book is just filled with scene after scene. I mean, the Punisher's use of the 60 on the streets of New York, and as he says, was it the song from the lullaby, "Come All the Way to New York City," talking about like using the 60 in Nam. Also,
you got him busting out of the back of a van with a flamethrower, which is Dane's favorite scene of the whole thing.
Pretty metal.
Yep. Actually, you know what? You know why Punisher really works in this book, and I've said this on Body Count, that the reason why Ennis was such a great choice for the Punisher was that look at his work in Preacher and look at some of his works in general. You know, he's a very dark humor writer. Especially in Preacher, he created this world of amoral fuckers who just love to go around, fuck people in the ass in an alley and stick a gerbil up it. He has these like sick, psychotic stuff that you would only see in the darkest corners of the internet. And he puts Frank Castle in that world. And it's like a fucking kid in a candy store.
Well, yeah, he makes characters it's satisfying to watch him off. And I mean, to like go further into the Preacher analysis, I mean, let's be honest, and Ennis has said this and admitted it before, the Killer of Saints is the Punisher.
Yeah.
I mean, he is very much, and like Ennis has gone on record and said, like, yeah, that was kind of his first attempt writing the Punisher, was that character, and they're remarkably similar in a lot of ways.
And in a
they never die, they never run out of ammo, and they always kill what they hit.
Yeah, exactly. But in another thing that makes him a lot like the Killer of Saints, and what Ennis really rails into in what you might consider a decompressed story. This is 12 issues for one story, but in every issue, Frank is killing someone. I understand there's always like a fight in most superhero comics, but Frank never stops fucking killing. Even when he is shot up and on an operating table, he still manages to murder like 2 people.
Yeah, I love Greg Rucka, but he could have studied a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, Ennis is able to add context to it too, which is the really impressive. I mean, anybody can write like a comic where a whole bunch of guys die. Ennis was able to do that. And yet, like, just have context to everybody. I mean, the Russian is set up really quickly, but he's set up really well. And when they fight, it's believable that, this guy could smack Frank around. Although, of course, Frank still gets the best of him.
Sure. But through smarts. That's the other thing that Ennis put down. A lot of people don't like the Punisher because he's just this guy with guns.
He's a dumb guy with a gun in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, but the guy has 2 really good things on his side. One is his intelligence, and the other is his rep. His rep is his superpower, basically. People hear about the Punisher. Like, we were reading The Superior Foes of Spider-Man, and that's a book where it has a speedster. It has the Shocker guy on it. It has a guy that has boomerangs that could kill you with a flick of his wrist.
Yeah, it's got the 2 henchmen from Venture Brothers.
Yeah, it has literally a woman who's like a moth or some shit.
And they are all terrified of one like normal human being.
Yeah, I mean, there's one guy that literally uses his super speed to run away. It's like, no, that asshole could have like run his hand through the Punisher's heart, and it's like, no, fuck it. Fuck it. I'm just leaving. I'm going to grab my Happy Meal and leave. And that's the kind of guy he is, even in this world of superpowered people.
It's the kind of guy Ennis wrote too. I mean, we have that early scene in the morgue.
Yeah.
And as Frank says, the first thing they all do is freeze. Yeah.
And then they often aim for the skull. Like, that's another thing that people forget, is that skull is actually padded. And and this is actually true. People do aim for center mass, and the skull actually does distract people in the comics. But the other thing is that in this comic, in previous comics, when the Punisher showed up, like even as a guest star in like Spider-Man or Daredevil, they almost saw the Punisher like as some asshole distraction. And it's like, oh man, I can't believe he's here. He's going to make everything worse. But after Ennis, now they see the Punisher, and even the heroes shit their pants because they understand the force of nature that's coming onto the scene.
Well, they saw it too in another issue of it was Superior Team Up, And like even Doc Ock is wary of him, and the Punisher actually gets the best of the Dr. Octopus Spider-Man, which was pretty awesome, by the way. And I mean, yeah, he's not a dumb guy. He improvises really, really well, and he just seems to survive everything. And that's a lot of that is in Welcome Back, Frank, as well, and really comes from this book.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know, can we backtrack on the art? Because I actually had something I wanted to say about it.
Really quickly, I'll say about the morgue scene.
Yeah.
I know this is bad. It's the way it's lit. I thought it was Jon Stewart. I thought they switched characters. I thought they switched characters halfway through. I was like, "Fucking hell, what is going on here?" But go ahead, Dane.
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about. All right. But
I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just saying, in that first panel, in that first page, when he's standing there,
yeah.
when the doctor's like, "Oh, hang on, big boy," the way the lighting is done on his face, he doesn't look Italian at all. He looks African American.
I think that's just a
What?
a bad filter effect on Adobe Photoshop 4 or whatever they were using at the time. Like I just see that as bad.
I think you may seriously want to invest in a pair of like reading glasses.
Yeah, I don't see him as that black.
Or you're colorblind, or and the light's like
I would
clearly
think,
hitting
like,
his eyes. I don't.
Yeah, and his eyes are red.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
I will take a screenshot of this.
Somebody may have some racism issues.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not at all.
That is one of the. Somebody needs to like isolate that audio for
Right
future
now-
generations.
Right now, Mike is like, why can't I wear blackface? The Punisher does it. Why can't I do it?
Not at
Although
all.
that did
right
happen
around the
in
corner.
80s.
Well, he needs to go down to his local Dollar General, find someone who used to be a plastic surgeon.
Yeah,
Funny.
Ugh.
make it happen. Hang out with
You
the
were saying you were
that's a
saying
great
about
joke
the
for
art.
But okay, listen. The one thing I want to say about the art is, now that this has got to be about I've read this comic over a dozen times, and I always see this comic often as the halfway point of Dylan's work, because you see something that he did like in Preacher, and then you see the phoned in bullshit he does in Thunderbolts and in the Ultimates that he did with Millar that was like something to do with vampires, and it was really bad. But the thing that happens is like there's less detail, there's less line work. You might be able to say he's going for a more minimalistic style, but then it's like everyone has the same goddamn face. Here it's almost I go, okay, no, this is still good. There's variety. There's
detail in the faces.
There's detail in the faces. People still look different. But after a couple of years of retrospective, I truly think that the lion's share of the credit should really go toward Jimmy Palmiotti, and even
what a surprise!
Yeah, surprise!
Colors.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like the inks and the colors truly enhance the pencils of Steve Dillon. I think if you saw the pencils of most of these pages, you'd be pretty disappointed. I think like the colors especially improve things like the emotions people are feeling, the intensity of certain firefights. The inks really help flesh out like when people are scowling or when people are shocked.
I'm not saying that Palmiotti didn't do a great job, and I'm not saying he's not bringing anything to the book, but it really is that Dillon still cares at this point.
And that's the thing is I'm not disagreeing with that. I just, after reading this again, I just realized I don't think Dillon was as great as I thought he was after reading this.
So wait, Dane, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How does Jimmy's dick taste?
I'm not even saying it's about fucking Jimmy. I'm just saying the inks and the colors fucking elevate the work much more than what they would if it was somewhere else.
Okay.
Anyway, this is some of Dylan's best work, period.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely up there with his work on Preacher. I'm hard-pressed to say which is better. But we can at least agree that Dylan is still at his high water mark with this.
Yeah.
with the fight with the Russian, I see exactly where they got the entire scene in the '04 film.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
They
the
make
04
so
some
film,
awesome.
homages.
the '04 film could have been one of the greatest comic book movies of all time if they just would have adapted this the way Zack Snyder adapted 300 or Watchmen.
No. I mean, think about that. What you want to guest star Daredevil in that movie? How would people even make that in context?
You could take out that whole scene. You can erase kind of the throwbacks to the old continuity in the first issue, and this can be its own thing. Like, okay, the Daredevil scene is good, but it's not necessary for the story.
Okay,
Especially to
I
a
also
general
don't think
audience.
you need, yeah, and I also don't think you need any sort of backstory to Daredevil. I mean, Frank pretty much describes a lot of it well himself. I don't think there's a whole lot of context that's necessarily needed if you did want to use him.
yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying, before like Iron Man or what have you, they really wanted these movies to stand on their own, have their own internal logic. I don't blame them for making the movie they did back in 2004, or even the Punisher Warzone movie. That had its own internal logic to it. They didn't have to have a guest.
They could have totally. How could they not have adapted this and made it its own thing? You can take out that Daredevil scene. I really don't get why you're saying that.
Maybe if they turn this into a fucking anime, like how they do with Iron Man or whatever, like an anime feature, I'd love that shit. That would be great. Have what's it called, Mad Mouse Studios? Have them do it.
Madhouse, yeah. But why do you not think that this couldn't be adapted for the big screen? Why
Really,
couldn't this
dude?
whole thing?
Fucking really?
Yeah, I want to know. I asked the
Audience
question.
won't
didn't I?
accept that shit. Audience, especially for a vigilante crime noir movie. What do you really want him to like? Even in the Tom Jane movie, they knew they didn't want to have a guy being like, in Soviet Russia, car drives you. They didn't want that fucking guy. They wanted him to be quiet. They wanted him to be a brawler. Okay, because they knew the audiences would just be like, "Where's this weirdness coming from?" It was already weird having some.
So hang
I
on.
just have to-
Audiences won't accept that, but grown-ups too can clear like $50 million.
I'm just going to completely
Wait,
fundamentally disagree with you on this, Dane.
Yeah.
Okay, getting back to the fight with the Russian.
Yes.
Hooray.
I love how they kill him.
Oh yeah, by smothering him with Mr. Bumpo.
I
Which
love
is better
that.
than falling down the stairs.
Yeah. Actually, what's even better is when he's got Mr. Bumpo on top of him, he's like, is he still moving? And he's like, no. All right, we'll just wait 30 more minutes.
Yeah, give it.
Fucking chill. Yeah, what's great is they killed a stereotype with another stereotype. It has a kind of poetry to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But looking back at looking at Welcome Back Frank for the first time and having seen the '04 movie, I see every single thing they took from this to make that film.
It's what they were going for, but didn't achieve.
Yeah.
You know what they just need to make? They just need to let me direct Marvel movies. I'll make them shit tons of money. I'll be better than Joss Whedon. Fuck him.
Yeah. You're gonna be like,
Well, I will say that at least for mainstay audiences that aren't, comic fans that have been paying attention for the last 20, 30, 40 years, I will say that the '04 film is a decent beginning, middle, end structured setup story of introducing it like a mainstream audience to the character. But,
I've said it before, I'll just say it again. It's an okay Frank Castle film. It's a bad Punisher movie.
that's right.
Well, anything's better than Elektra.
You know what's great about Electra? Joe Quesada to this day refuses to admit that's a bad movie. Like if you bring it up with him, he's going, "Yeah, Electra, I stand by that."
To be fair, I put it above Catwoman.
Well, goddamn,
yeah,
the cat pretty much ruined Halle Berry's life, man. I mean, how bad can a movie be when it ruins an A-list actress like that?
Well, maybe Days of Futures Past can redeem her.
Oh yeah, is she really going to be in that?
Yes, she is.
Oh man, that makes me want to see that movie less. I'm fucking tired of that woman. Like,
Yeah, well, There
I
you
am
go.
boycotting
Basically Halle Berry and Friends. Like, she had a really good agent. Good for fucking her. But, man, stop fucking with the X-Men.
Yeah,
And,
I will
near
once
the end-
again be boycotting the new X-Men movie.
Yeah. Okay, well, good. Thanks.
Yeah.
So brave. Thank you, Jake. So brave.
I'll also be boycotting this RoboCop piece of crap.
They gave away the whole movie in the trailer.
So, back to that Punisher book.
Yeah, back to that really, really awesome Punisher book.
It's discharge papers.
Overall, no. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, even though I did complain a little bit about the overall payoff for the Vigilante Squad taking a little too long.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's easily the best Punisher story of all time.
Yeah, it's okay.
Maybe when we get to the ratings, we should reflect that.
All right.
Yes. All right, we're going to take a quick ad break. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we go to ads?
This book is fantastic. I have very little... Like, I remember reading this originally, issue by issue, and seeing what it did for the character, which was bring him back from nothing, and, like, nobody talking, nobody reading it. And, I mean, not just that, but, I mean, putting something that was quality. I mean, every month it came out, it was somebody at my comic shop's pick for the month, that kind of thing, and that never really happened with a Punisher comic, and it's happened since then too. But I mean, Ennis kind of put the character on the map, and this is really one of the reasons why the Punishers sort of hung around this long. I don't know what would have happened if Welcome Back Frank didn't exist, if we'd still have Angel Punisher or what.
No, he would just be that guest star people would look at in a Spider-Man comic going, oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
Sort of.
And then he dies in some kind of event to show that the event is serious business.
Right.
And like
he would basically be the white Luke Cage.
Pretty much. Wow, that's... I actually stand by that. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Actually, there's the only thing I'll add to my comments. You guys will never understand how much I jizzed my pants like it was Christmas morning after I got done reading Welcome Back Frank, and then found out there was Army of One.
Oh, yeah. That's the next one.
Yeah. Because I thought Welcome Back Frank was its own thing. I thought it was just like a limited mini. Then when I saw that there was more... Actually, I have all of the Marvel Knights trades, and I still have one more to read, but I can't bring myself to read it, because then once I read it, it's over. There's no more Ennis Punisher for me to read. And,
Well, there will be next year.
Yeah, there will be. And there's probably going to be some later, too.
Well, we don't know that for sure, and I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but...
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this.
Hello, pop culture connoisseurs. Do you gain a dark sense of peace when the guilty are punished by a violent vigilante? If so, maybe you should get some therapy, and then subscribe to Punisher Body Count, the net's best podcast concerning all things Frank Castle. I'm Dane Lamont. My co-host Jake Williams and I cover the good, the bad, and the hilarious on the Punisher comics, movies, and news. Do you like chummy co-host banter? We got that. You need to get your fucking...
No, you need to fucking pay attention to the fucking movie.
You want kick-ass guest interviews? How about Mike Barron and Tom Jane?
No, I like a little bit of grit in my cigar.
You want carefully considered in-depth analysis?
I mean, yeah, just won Best Picture at the Oscars yesterday. I mean, it's no Terminator. It was still,
Good luck with that. Punisher Body Count, twice a month on Geekcast Radio.
We are back here in Punisher Month on the Pull Bag, and is anybody not going to give this 5 stars perfect?
I was going to give it 3 Peter Wellers out of 5.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Which Peter Weller? I like which role are we talking Peter Weller in here?
RoboCop.
All right. So if it's 3 RoboCops out of 5, what does that mean?
I think it means dead or alive. This comic is awesome.
It's coming with you. Yes. Anyway.
So are we all in agreement, just to not necessarily cut this short, but as far as the overall rating, everyone's giving it a 5-star perfect?
This is
Sure.
one of my Desert Island books that if I could only pick like a handful of trades, this would be one of them.
I would do it because I think the book would be really good for beating like a monkey to death if I wanted some protein.
It's heavy enough.
Yeah.
Especially the hardback, yeah.
Yeah, which comes with Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, see, there'd be some irony to that. You're killing something else now.
Which was actually Ennis's first work on the Punisher, but anyway.
Yeah. I can't believe that was the book that actually was his first entry into the Punisher, because that's something where you'd go like, yeah, this guy's probably never going to write for Marvel again. Just
because he's too crazy, but then, Preacher happened.
Yeah.
Well, Preacher was way before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, not that far before, and I mean he had others too that were a big deal. Like I remember, I think Hitman was the first time I started hearing his name and people talking about him, and yeah, I mean that was a pretty big comic, especially at the time as well.
But yeah, for me, perfect 5 out of 5 stars. I would give it more rating. I should be a hipster like Dane and come up with my own system to rate it, but whatever.
We could always just quote Billy Bob from Varsity Blues. A 10, a fucking 10.
10 out of 10.
Why do you never quote good things?
Shut the hell up.
Yeah, why don't you quote something from like Friday Night Lights? Or
To be fair, it's better than Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
It's because Mike doesn't watch good shows. He's always watching The Voice or whatever the fuck.
Oh, God, here we go.
Well, if we're talking about Breaking Bad, I give it 5 minerals out of 5.
Jesus Christ, Marie, stop rating it. Yeah, I don't know.
God damn it, Marie, they're stars, not ratings.
Yeah, either way, I mean, this is just, I think most people probably have this at the very least in their top 3 Punisher stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a lot of people that really dislike it.
It's basically the Superman of all seasons for Punisher.
Pretty much, yeah.
I didn't know Superman of all seasons was the seminal Superman book.
It's pretty good. Okay, you want All-Star Superman? I thought you'd shit all over me because it was a fucking Grant Morrison book. But okay.
No, I would. No, I mean, I've read Superman.
Okay, so you're going to shit on it anyway. Okay.
If only they could.
You didn't even let me fucking finish, you asshole.
All right.
Well, Jake is kind of right, because if you look at All-Star Superman, that spells ass. So there you go, right there.
Whoa! Blew my mind there, Mike. Oh, it's almost like you got that from CBR message boards or something. Whoa!
Actually, no, I got it from Tooncast Beyond Season 1, Episode 12.
Holy
I'll just throw this one out there, by the way. When we're talking about Morrison, All-Star Superman's one of the ones I really like of his.
It is great.
Yeah, he's got a number of, I'm not a huge fan, but he's got a number of, really great stuff. There's a lot of stuff I don't like, but...
If you're willing to think about it, his Batman's pretty great, too.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing the man has ever written is any good. He is the ass on an ass sandwich.
And what's the deal with The Godfather, Jake? The overhyped piece of shit. Am I right?
I've actually never watched that all the way through, so I can't comment.
You know what? Me too. So it's okay.
So
over the next 2 weeks in Punisher Month, we are going to be starting and finishing the Greg Rucka run of the Punisher, volumes 1 through 3 in trade, so people don't get confused and think we're talking about the shitty 80s comics, and then enter Warzone. For now, I am DF2 and Mike with...
Ryan the Uneven Flow.
Jacob Williams.
The Williams.
L. Lamont.
Make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
And actually, maybe throw Valley Forge in there on occasion, too. There are times when I just, absolutely love reading that.
That's a very reflective comic, and it's something that I think you really need to sit down and be willing to read like a book.
You also need Bourne with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very good companion to Bourne. Like a nice afterword.
Like a big Cuban cigar after sex.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
It's the only way I can come twice.
Yeah.
Christmas.
It's like his
early.
spinach.
You just heard the latest episode of The Pullback, GCRN's comic book review podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you were leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @GeekCastRadio. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.